22 Somali-run daycares are being raided today in downtown Minneapolis.
The FBI is raiding multiple locations there in Minneapolis.
Many of them are tied to Somali-owned operations.
But a Somali-run daycares get an FBI raid following the weeks of Minneapolis' Somali immigrant community being the target of the Trump administration, accused of fraud.
Meaning they are going in, they are seizing documents, seizing things that could be used as evidence in a fraud investigation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the day has come. The Quality Learning Center has officially been raided.
Quality Learning Center, this is the daycare. It went viral. It blew up on social media because of a sign outside with learning that was literally misspelled.
Quality Learning Center. You can't make this up. Awesome. So when we thought it was over, they started going 10 times harder. Let's go get every single one of them that are committing fraud. Thank you, Nick Shirley.
So finally, the FBI is raiding these daycare centers in Minneapolis, Minnesota that are tied to this flawed investigation. And if you remember, guys, we covered this story back in December when it started going viral online and it sparked a huge debate. A lot of Americans were angry because the allegations were serious. Money that was supposed to help children and struggling American families was allegedly being used for personal gain. And that is why this story touched a nerve with so many people. Because in this economy, a lot of Americans are already struggling to survive. So hearing that money meant to help families may have been misused made a lot of people emotional. Now the FBI has stepped in.
Federal agents seen leaving the Quality Learning Center.
Yeah, we have had a photographer there at the daycare since this morning, capturing video of those federal agents just going in and out of the building, collecting evidence as part of the DOJ's fraud investigation in Minnesota. Take a look at this video here. Sources tell Fox that federal agents are raiding about 22 businesses across Minneapolis this morning. All of this comes after that viral YouTube video from Nick Shirley. It was back in December. In that video, he visited different child care centers. And you'll remember they were either closed or there were just no children inside, despite receiving state child care funding. Now, the location that you're looking at right now, it's the Quality Learning Center. This is the daycare. It went viral.
Everything that's been said and done by politicians like Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz about the fraud and about the fraud not existing and there being no fraud inside these daycares, well, 22 court-approved search warrants have been going out today across Minnesota to go and see what's happening. So it's been a while. They've had about 6 months to cover their fraud, so we'll see what happens. But the Quality Learning Center has officially been raided.
The FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and local law enforcement are working together to raid these Somali-run daycares. 9 of these were daycares that were featured in the Nick Shirley viral video, starting first with the Quality Learning Center. The Quality Learning Center, when we saw the sign, we knew this had to be something a little bit suspicious. Last year alone, they took in $1.9 million. And once we exposed the fraud, the Quality Learning Center immediately shut down, saying they did not have enough money to operate for 2026. 9 of the daycares that we visited, many of them were making over $3.4 million running a daycare where children were not even attending. The fraudsters were able to steal the money, but the government leaders are the ones that were writing the checks. They are just as guilty as the fraudsters. And I truly believe, had we not made this video exposing the fraud taking place in Minnesota, the fraudsters will continue to get paid, continue to steal our tax dollars. Today, we should all wear our Quality Learning Center. And thanks to Nick Shirley and David and myself for exposing the fraud, and in thanks to the FBI for actually doing something about it.
All this chaos and destruction we'll be witnessing throughout the United States, all of them come from Minnesota, literally. Each one of them started from over there, and they spread throughout the country.
Happening this morning, federal law enforcement agencies are conducting several raids across the state connected to the Somali fraud investigation. That's according to federal officials. This video is from investigative reporter AJ Legault from outside the Quality Learning Center. Our AJ Legault was at one of the raids and shared these photos with us. And sources tell him that the raids are focusing on Twin Cities child and daycare centers. We do know that these raids are not part of an immigration enforcement operation.
FBI agents behind me here in Shakopee at the Universal Child Care Center are moving evidence out of the Child Care Center as they execute a search warrant. This is one of 22 search warrants being executed across the Twin Cities Metro today as part of a widespread fraud investigation. I have addresses of 10 different child care centers. This is one of them here at a shopping center in Shakopee, Universal Child Care Center. They've also raided 5 autism centers and at least 7 other businesses as well. This is part of the widespread fraud investigation ongoing in the state of Minnesota. The focus on child care centers came after a viral video a few months ago by YouTuber Nick Shirley. And there have been investigations into Medicaid fraud as well. The child care centers receive funding through something called CCAP, which is child care assistance money. This particular fraud investigation is in regard to that. I'll have lots more coming up today. I'm Lou Ragoose. Follow for more news.
Well, we've all been waiting patiently to find out when the government was going to do anything about the fraud that Nick Shirley uncovered in Minnesota, especially related to the quality learning centers. There's over 13 of them, which no children ever attended, and apparently over $19 million was spent.
What do you got to say now? They're raiding 22 businesses across Minnesota. I can't wait to see what comes out of the California fraud. So do you think they're going to find anything, or do you think that they scrubbed everything since the initial investigation, since the initial exposure? I still think that if they're anything like Ilhan Omar, or we call her 11Han Omar, if you know, did they just delete the hard drive and not rewrite it? It wouldn't surprise me. So what do you guys think? Are we going to find anything out of this investigation?
Y'all need to hear this, because this daycare situation in Minnesota, it's not just bad management, it's shady as hell. Take Quality Learning Center, for example. They call themselves a daycare, but somehow they can't even spell learning right on the building. And get this, in 2025 alone, this one center reportedly got $1.9 million in government funding. Here's where it gets really suspicious. Go there on a weekday around noon, no kids, no staff, doors locked, windows completely blacked out, nothing. And yet, their license says they're allowed to care for 99 children. 99. That's not normal. A real daycare should be buzzing during the day, but this place, empty. Even weirder, the notice on the door gets blurred out in videos. Why hide it? Because this center has a history of serious problems. Since 2022, it's been investigated multiple times, and these weren't minor issues, we're talking child safety violations. The facility has been on probation more than once, likely operating under a conditional license or even had its license revoked. That paper on the door? Most likely a sanction or licensing notice. They were already cited for not posting correctly. So when you put it all together, millions in government money, no kids, repeated violations, safety concerns, and a locked up building, you can't just call it poor management. This is what a daycare scam looks like. It's not a one-time thing. It's a pattern. And pretending everything's fine, that's exactly how it keeps happening.
Respectfully, I'm going to say, Black people, this is not our fight. They don't even like us. We are called Black slaves, abids. They don't even like us. They don't even identify as Black unless it's convenient. So respectfully, my African American people across the United States, I need you to take a scroll down my page so that I can educate you. Understand that this is not about race or religion. This is not about left or right, that this is about justice. And if we don't start speaking, we're going to keep being robbed. You guys keep talking about in our communities that we want reparations. Well, this is why we can't get them if they were going to be negotiated. You have people that we are granting asylum to stealing $18 billion of the taxpayers' money. So respectfully, all of my African American people, this unfortunately is not our fight. Let the Somalis figure it out. They don't even like Black people. Now y'all want to be on our side. You guys won't even assimilate to learn the language. It's not our fight. Respectfully, you should have thought about needing allies. when you guys were discriminating against us. Like you're still doing when you come in these comments and you talk shit, like you're still doing. The level of arrogance in that community is beyond anything that I've ever known. And you guys act as if you're entitled to that arrogance. No, really, if the black people wanted to pop their shit, they could act like they were entitled to that arrogance. We don't.
Child, I found myself back in the Somali business, and this is what's going on. Child, anyway, allegedly, they were saying, mind you, I ain't say this, this is what they said. So, allegedly, they saying that they was over there abusing government funds to open up fake daycares over there in Minnesota. And they had this YT man come to one of the daycares. I think they said it was ABC Learning. And he came up, he pulled up with about 8 people talking about some, I'm trying to check a child into your daycare center, and talk about something where the doors were locked and the staff wouldn't let them in. You got 8 grown-ass adults and no child. What do you mean they're not letting you in with cameras? But the daycare center won't trying to hear that. They said, you are not going to come on this internet and play in our face. So what they did was they showed the timestamp. They showed the timestamp of the man pulling up with all them people and them cameras, and a few minutes earlier when a mom came and dropped her child off because she actually had a child. The daycare center also said that the biggest reason why they won't try to let them in is not just because of the cameras, but because of all the recent ICE activity.
If you're out here defrauding the government of funds that were allocated towards this community's children's future, education, food, or whatever, you deserve what you get. It doesn't matter whether you are committing crimes in America. It doesn't matter if you're committing crimes in Somalia. It doesn't matter where you commit crimes. If you get caught, you're going to jail, and that's life. But see, 2 things can be true, because this administration has quite literally launched a campaign against American Somalis and Somalis all over the world as a whole. By, on one hand, zeroing in on fraud committed by a very minuscule percentage of the Somali population, but on the other hand, pardoning dozens of fraudsters who have defrauded the United States government on billions and billions of dollars. Now, is it really a coincidence that in the same year that this administration decides to crack down specifically on fraud committed by Somali people, that the decision makers of this administration and this country as a whole have moved to recognize a northern region in Somalia for no other reason but strategical purposes? What is the strategical purposes? Well, this is Somalia, and this is the northern part that these folks are interested in. And if you pay attention, this is the Strait of Hormuz. You've seen it on the news every single day. But what's little known is that this is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which also sees its fair share of resources flow through every single day. And this is Yemen, in which a group exists who has threatened over and over again to close this strait. And if they succeeded, it would return everybody right here back into Bedouins. Barefoot Bedouins. It would actually happen in our lifetime if that happened. So is this about fraud? Sure. But let's not pretend that this administration does anything exclusively for the betterment of the American people, because that has been proven not to be the case over and over and over again.
So let's get into it, and I know that this is going to ruffle some feathers, but I don't give a fuck. Go get your Somalian sisters over in Minnesota, yelling at people and cussing them out because they're getting caught for fraud in full hijab. This is telling people they don't like them because their skin is white in full hijab. Kicking people off the property of the mosque because they're investigating allegedly at the mosque in Minnesota. It's mostly a Somalian community. So they were basically reports from Somalian women that they were enforcing Sharia law at the mosque in Minnesota. So the government went in to investigate. However, it was not founded. But also none of the Somalian women or the community will speak. But when these people go there and ask if they can put their kids in daycares, they are met with the utmost resistance. The Somalian community is being very disrespectful. There's hundreds of videos online in full hijab. I just want to ask them all the people want to know is, where did the billions of dollars go? I'm sorry, I got on here and said 3 million before. It's over that. It's 100 million. They said it's almost in the billions, the fraud in Minnesota from the Somalian community. Where did the money go? Where did the money go? Because there's people right now in New Jersey and in the United States that cannot get childcare because you guys are siphoning $100 million from the government for a daycare Ponzi scheme. One of the daycares now, we did do some research, one of the daycares was shut down. They had hella strikes against them for negligence to children and whatever, one of the Somalian daycares. So the state shut them down. They all have crazy violations at these daycares, even the ones that are still open.
While the FBI is still investigating Somali fraud in Minnesota, there may be more fraud going on in the state of Washington, according to one woman. A woman named Kristen Maggs shared a screen recording of a list of child care centers in Washington that list Somali as their primary language, claiming many of these centers don't have an address. She claims 539 daycare centers in the state list Somali as their primary language. And she said, quote, "I don't know how many of these are submitting fraudulent claims for state grants and subsidies, but I have a strong hunch the number is not zero." While it's unclear if any fraud is actually taking place, if you head over to the website findchildcarewa.org, you can search these places and see for yourself that no addresses are listed, with many receiving subsidies. Now, after that post circulated on X, Elon Musk wrote, "They are fraud maxing this exploit." And Senator Ted Cruz even chimed in, writing, what? Now, we will be following this story as it further develops, so be sure to follow us on our social channels, The National Desk.
This Somali money laundering scandal that's happening right now in Minnesota has to be one of the biggest political scandals in American history. You can't tell me no different. The fact that we have all of this information and nobody is still held accountable is diabolical as hell to me. It's so sad that a damn YouTuber, a journalist, and not taking anything from him, because Nick Shirley, you're doing a hell of a job, son. But you're telling me that this man has more information and doing a better investigation than the FBI themselves. Better yet, Elon Musk, you were doing a hell of a job in Doge. At least that's what they told us, and I was with you, because this is absolutely mind-blowing that some of us are out here working so damn hard, and all of our hard-earned money and all of our taxpayer money is going to a goddamn money laundering scheme. You got to be out of your mind. At this point, this shit has nothing to do with politics. This is a criminal organization. This shit needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed effective immediately. At this point, we need to just knock all this shit over, because it's obviously the government ain't doing shit for us, but taking over us and taking from us, okay?
And most of these facilities or businesses are Somali related, and they wanted to say one thing on top of this, that this is not immigration related, because Homeland Security does work with investigations and, you know, detecting fraud or not. But yeah, this is ongoing, and as always, there's no kids at the Quality Learning Center. Yeah, man, can you believe it? We got this before World War 11. Yeah, did World War 11 already pass? I don't know.
The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI.
So I didn't get a chance to report on this, but I know they came out with the Stop the Nick Shirley Act. Now, the Stop the Nick Shirley Act is Assembly Bill 2624, which would allow immigration service providers to join the state's Safe at Home Address Confidentiality Program. They branded it after independent Nick Shirley, whose videos expose alleged fraud in Minnesota daycare centers. Now, the bill says that it protects service providers from threats of violence. And other people feel like the reason why they created the bill is so that they could silence Nick Shirley from exposing this fraud. Because a lot of people wanted to know where their taxpayer dollars were going, and Nick Shirley exposed that. Now, if the bill gets passed, there will be penalties when you post these videos as evidence of misconduct. But at this point, I really don't think it matters, because the FBI just raided the Quality Learning Center, and they're doing this to 22 businesses. So what that says is Nick Shirley shined a floodlight on the fraud already. So even if you don't get to do any more videos, the information is already out there, and they're gonna now be watching. People aren't saying don't provide these services. What they're simply saying is y'all need to be a little more hands-on to who you giving millions of dollars to. The lack of oversight. And do you feel like the Stop the Nick Shirley Act, do you feel like this bill will be passed? Like, comment, share, and follow for more.
Same day, same city, mostly childcare facilities, mostly Somali-owned businesses. They were investigating $9 billion in safety net fraud since 2018. And if something sounds familiar about all this fraud, we already talked about the Minnesota congresswoman whose winery dissolved 9 days after amended financial filings. Same state, same community. So, same question. What the heck is going on in Minnesota? Follow for more.
These people been here for 30 years. And for 30 years, they refuse to assimilate. As a matter of fact, they done turned Minnesota into Little Somalia. Even changed the flag of Minnesota to reflect Somalia. They wasn't trying to be Americans. They were trying to recreate home. But when you tell them it's time to go home, suddenly it's a problem. When you say it's time to pack your bags because your temporary protection is over, honey. It's time to pack your bags and go home. Now suddenly it's a problem. Oh, we Americans though. We Americans. Since when? You ain't never tried to be American. You tried to change America. You tried to create your own little Somalia that you could safely have things your way in. Well, we're telling you that we don't want our cities changed into Somalia. We're going to give you a bus ride, a plane ride, a boat ride, and everything else you need until you back safely in Somalia. And let's hope them boats don't get pirated along the way.
Oh, so now they are finally working on this case. That was literally my first reaction after watching this. If you remember, we talked about this story months ago when people online started exposing what was allegedly happening in some of these daycare centers. Back then, a lot of people already felt something wasn't adding up. The numbers sounded crazy, the allegations were serious. And people kept wondering how something that big could go on for that long without anybody stepping in. And 6 months later, this is when the FBI finally raids these places. I'm not gonna lie, that delay is what caught my attention first. 6 months is a long time. There is enough time for these Somalis to get their stories together. So I really hope investigators already built a strong case before making these moves. Yeah, I know that the federal cases do take time. They need evidence, paperwork, and they need to make sure that they can prove what they are saying in court. But still, 6 months is too long. Let us leave this case for the investigators. They're gonna do their job and we will see the results. So why does the case of these daycare centers in Minneapolis touch the hearts of many Americans? It's because we are talking about money that was supposed to help children, money meant to help struggling families, money that came from taxpayers, regular hardworking Americans who wake up every single morning, go to work, and try to survive in an economy that is already beating them up. Looking at the current economic situation in America, a lot of American families are struggling, guys. People are dealing with rent. People are dealing with groceries becoming more expensive. Americans are dealing with healthcare costs that have skyrocketed. They are literally trying to keep their heads above water. So when these struggling Americans hear these allegations that money that was meant to help children, that was meant to support struggling families, is being used by Somali immigrants to fund their lifestyles, of course they are going to be angry. And for many people, this story feels bigger than just flawed. It feels like another example of watching systems working for everybody except for the people who have been paying into them for generations. A lot of Black Americans have watched their communities dealing with failing schools, neglected neighborhoods, lack of investment in their community, and economic struggles for decades. The They have watched their families paying taxes, much taxes actually. They have heard of their ancestors fighting for the civil rights. They have watched people sacrifice and build America, and they have been told to wait. While everybody else find ways to benefit from the system that they helped make accessible. And before anybody twists this conversation, this is not about attacking every Somali person or every immigrant. There are many hardworking immigrant families in America doing things in the right way and doing their best to build their lives. But those who are doing it in the wrong way, they have to be accountable. Nobody should be protected if they broke the law. And let me tell you, if this story involved Black Americans taking money from the programs that were meant to help children or struggling families, the headlines would be non-stop. People would be using that story to stereotype the entire Black American community. And that is why many people feel like there are double standards when situations happen. If these allegations are true, this does not just hurt taxpayers, it hurts struggling American families. And it also hurts hardworking Somali families who now have to deal with the negative attention because of the actions of few individuals. That is why I always tell you that people should be accountable of their actions. So we are all looking forward to see what is gonna come out of the investigation. If these allegations are true, yes, people behind those scam daycare centers should be punished. If they are innocent, let that be proven too. But what Americans are tired of is seeing regular hardworking Americans carrying the burden, while some of these immigrants find the way to game the system. So let me hear from you guys. Do you think the allegations to these Somali daycare centers are true or not? If you have enjoyed watching this video, click on that like button, subscribe so that you will not miss the next episode, and share this video to your friends. See you next time. Ciao.